Okay, real quick update here. For a while, and unfortunately I apologize for the curve. This wire is awfully stiff going from the USB to UART. I have it set up in the automatic programming for the ESPs, and I've got it working with an ESP01. Don't know if you can see that here. It's exactly my old board. We're just going to look at it backwards. You're just going to have to believe that the ESP is running because the light on it, the LED light, doesn't respond when you're using the serial terminal. All of this is still working. I have it set so when there's motion detected, the light comes on solid. That part seems to be fine. So we have the 5-volt PCF IC going through just one or two channels of a 4-channel level shifter, talking to the ESP at 3 volts. That USB, I think I can't remember the type of one that I have, but it has 5 volt out, 3.3 volt out, and it does all its logic at 3.3 volts, which is 5 volt compatible for the most case. As you can see here, I just made it move again, so it's on my hand and lit up that little LED. Now, something I'm going to quickly show, hopefully it picks this up. That's the Arduino library. Oh, geez, look at that, lost focus. That's the Arduino library I'm using. But what you have to do to make it compile and run for the ESP is you have to go into the code and remove every reference to an Arduino interrupt. Anywhere in the code that it referenced an interrupt, whether it was in the header or in the CPP file of the library, you have to remove it. So what I simply just did is I called it, I just add the word red on the end so I'd remember that it was a special version. And unfortunately I don't have my tripod here, but let me just see if I can pull this up. That's a real terminal, and it's just showing that it's live and seeing, you know, motion the last little bit since we've been recording. The LED comes on, so that shows that the output pins and the input pins are working over that single chip. The Arduino code, sorry for the shake again guys, just doing this on sort of impromptu. It's really quite simple, and if you've used the Arduino IDE for ESP, it's just so simple once you get the DTR and RTS pins set up, which we're going to have a look at in a second. But there's a key to this, a couple edits. You're going to use, that's where I've made the call to the edited version of that library, my version. You're going to make a call whenever you use an ESP over I2C. You have to set the pins because they're not always the same. So when you do wire begin and then set the pins, that was great, except something I noticed when using this with other Arduinos, I had to reset the I2C bit rate, which made me realize somewhere in that function it was resetting that, and it did. So I had to go into that, and I added a little thing here in the begin. I simply added this here, Arduino. If there's an Arduino, use the regular begin call. I might even add a third state, which is do nothing. But if not, set it to the default ESP. Now I might add 2 vars to that or something. But just to get it working, this worked. That allowed the Arduino code to work. So let's just pop back to that. So when I'm calling the begin here, it sees the zeros and knows, oh, you must be trying to run an ESP. You need to use the pins that are actually, this line is actually recalled inside that. And then, lo and behold, our little motion I/O chip, that expander, allows this little simple ESP1 to get 8 new GPIO. And they're quasi-bidirectional GPIO, so that has some advantages and disadvantages, but the way it works, and I'm just going to pull up a diagram here for us, is we're looking at this rather simple diagram. Oh geez, look at that, it washed out. See if I can hold this here for simple diagram of an ESP. And what I have is I have my 3-volt rail coming in. All the resistors are 10K resistors, and then hooked to the specific lines of note. I mean, you still would hook to these lines over here. If you look, that's the ESP12 way of hooking it up for automatic programming, or this way for an ESP1, and that means when you hit upload in your Arduino IDE, it actually uploads the sketch and restarts your ESP and makes it work. In this case, I figured out the SDA has to go to GPIO 0, and I mean SCL to GPIO 2, but obviously you could switch that around in your sketch. That's not a given. You can change that with this chip. But the other neat thing is all those wires can stay hooked up. The automatic reset and programming mode pins still work with it like that. So I'm going to take some time and clean the new wires up and get them reduced so that the important wires stand out. I'll take some pictures and redo the my quick schematic sketch here so it makes sense, and I'll do a little bit better upload. But I just kind of want to do an update so you guys didn't think I forgot this particular part of the project. And I'll do a little better step-by-step, probably with some slides or pictures or something, so you guys can clearly see what's going on. And then I'll probably upload something to CodePad or somewhere like that. Anyhow, as always, thanks for watching.